Hey everybody, who's your Jedi here with another review for you. This time, talking episode 23 of season 2 of The Flash, called "The Race of His Life," and this is our big season 3 finale. And while I enjoyed it, I wasn't quite as blown away by this one as I was by last season. Maybe it had to do with the fact that when I watched the show, I just got back from work a little while before, and I was pretty tired. But for whatever reason, it just didn't really grab me. Now, there were definitely quite a few little things here that I did like. For example, oh, excuse me, I just finished drinking a little bit of soda, so yeah. For example, the decision of Team Flash to actually knock Barry out and lock him up in the pipeline with the whole reason is like, look, Barry, you can't go out there looking for revenge. If you go up against Zoom, and they said it repeatedly, if you go up against Zoom looking for revenge, you're going to lose. And Team Flash, in my book, is totally right on this. And I just love those little moments afterwards. Cisco kind of explaining how he wavered, and Barry giving Iris that look that even kind of said, like, even you sided against me on this one. But again, the team is right that one, Barry's not thinking clearly, which is not a good idea when you're going up against Zoom. And two, that as a hero, Barry is someone who should not go out there seeking revenge. And it's perhaps extremely fitting that this comic book happened to come out today. And the idea of how DC heroes should not be people who are driven by anger and revenge, that there's no place for love in the New 52 DC universe, is kind of one of the big central themes of this storyline. And in fact, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I just had a little moment of inspiration, so let me find it in here. There's a quote in here about Barry Allen. Let me try and find it. Yeah, here it is. Barry Allen, the Flash. He's smiling as he saves everyone. He stops as he always does, examining them between the ticks of a second to see if anyone needs a trip to the ER. One of the kids is hungry, so he brings them all pizza. He even tips the restaurant owner by renovating his kitchen. He seems happy. Barry, going out there, saving people with a big smile on his face. The idea that Barry is someone who symbolizes hope, that he is someone who is a selfless person, and that he does this not only because it's the right thing to do, but because being a hero, the Flash, helping people, saving them, is one of the things that gives him the most joy in life. So the idea of Barry going out there, crazy for revenge, is, in a way, almost anathema to the character. Now, granted, he just saw his father murdered right in front of him, and if anything's going to drive anybody to something like that, seeing one of the people they love most in the world killed right in front of them, well, that's going to do it. I mean, but again, that's kind of one of the themes that we even see in this episode. Zoom even says to Barry repeatedly, "You're like me. You're almost there. You're almost like me." He even taunts Barry. He's like, "Yeah, go on, kill me. Become like me. Strike me down with all your hatred," and all of that. And the idea that when Barry calms down enough to act out of love for Joe, love for the rest of Team Flash, that's when he's able to do the things like create the Time Remnant and ultimately take down Zoom. So it is a really clear example here in this storyline that love is stronger than anger. And if you really want to be a real hero, that's what you have to embrace. And few characters in comics do it as well as Barry Allen does. And of course, it's that lack of love that really sort of turned Zoom into who he was. I mean, we even see when Caitlin tries to trick him, he says like, "Oh, I knew you'd come around eventually." Then he tries to kill her, but it's too late, and he tries to kill her. So again, now it's pretty hard to not look at the whole thing that Zoom is trying to do and not think of Crisis on Infinite Earths. It does definitely have shades of the whole plan with the anti-monitor. I mean, even the little gadget that he rings up, which is like, why in the world were they calling that a pulsar at one point? I'm like, look, I'm not Neil deGrasse Tyson, but I know what the hell a pulsar is. And then they start switching it, calling it some other ridiculous thing. And then there's the whole thing of Zoo is like, oh yeah, it just so happens that this particular Earth is the linchpin of the multiverse. Well, okay, Zoom does have a little bit of a point. It's been said more than once in the comics that Earth is kind of the center of the multiverse. Now, exactly which particular Earth varies, but we can just sort of assume that the rules are flexible on that one. Earth is also in the comics been stated to be the most emotionally rich planet in the universe, which is why so many people from the various Lantern Corps, like the Green Lanterns and the Star Sapphires and the Sinestro Corps, and yes, there have been humans in the Sinestro Corps, if I remember correctly, have come from Earth. In fact, if I remember right, there's like 5 Green Lanterns. I guess, does Kyle Rayner still count? I don't know. But yeah, if you sort of look at the promo art from this stuff, there's like 5 Green Lanterns. Was it Jessica Cruz, Simon Boz, John Stewart, Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner, and then I presume Kyle Rayner's still out there somewhere. I don't know, but whatever. But anyway, this like when we saw Barry supposedly die in the other episode, again, sort of him fading away like that or being ripped apart like that. Again, shades of his death in the original Crisis on Infinite Earths. And here, this episode, he literally runs so fast that he destroys himself, saving the multiverse. Again, pure Crisis on Infinite Earths. And yet, season 1, we saw that newspaper headline talked about red skies, Flash missing afterwards, and it was like 10 years in the future from that point, which, of course, at the time we all looked at that and thought, oh wow, Crisis on Infinite Earths. So this kind of feels like a miniature Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I kind of think of it as like maybe like the for real deal will happen at some point in the future, which would be really awesome. Although the TV show will probably never be around long enough for it to actually happen. But still. And then I like how Barry kind of does ultimately reveal that he actually had a pretty decent plan. It's like, yeah, we're going to do this enough to attract the time race, and I'm just going to hope that they're more pissed off at Zoom than they are at me. Now, why they just couldn't have sent some additional time race to drag off both of them, yeah. But I like how when the time race get a hold of Zoom, he kind of turns into this creepy-looking zombie. And again, that is an astonishingly accurate recreation of what the Black Flash, sort of the personal Grim Reaper of speedsters, looks like. So I'm sure they're going to bring Zoom back at some point, only just for him to be sort of recast as, well, as I said, the personal Grim Reaper of speedsters. And speaking of which, most of people's speculation did pan out, and it turned out that, yeah, the person in the Iron Mask was Jay Garrick from another Earth. They refer to it as Earth 3, which, if I remember right in the comics, Earth 3 is usually the crime syndicate Earth, full of the evil versions of the main DC heroes. But, well, it kind of what it was here is like, yeah, I'm from Earth 47. Yeah, okay, let's just let's just keep things simple, okay? So him saying that made a lot of sense, and of course Barry freaks the hell out. And I like that they didn't explain the whole thing to Jay, because, well, obviously they want to bring him back at some point, and that's a good thing to keep in their pocket, because there's just not going to be enough time to fully explore that idea here in this particular episode. But it really was great to see John Wesley Shipp suit up in a very nice interpretation of Jay Garrick's outfit. They kind of made him look a little bit more bulky and stuff with that, but I think that was intended as a little bit of a nod to sort of the '90s Flash suit from his TV show. and then seeing him put on the helmet, going, you know what? It's time I took something from Zoom and kind of make it my own. It's just like, yes, because they needed a reason as to why in the world he's going to wear that hat. Although in the comics they did offer a really cool explanation that he can actually sometimes throw that around and have it work a little bit like Captain America's frisbee. I remember Jay did that one time, and Bart Allen always said, "I always wondered why the hat." And Jay just says, "Well, now you know." And it was great. But yeah, having John Wesley Shipp on the show as Jay Garrick, the inevitable team up that we're going to get at some point. Oh man, that's going to be great. And it'll really let them sort of use Shipp as kind of what we always wanted to, the older speedster providing a mentor to the young one. And this time around, Barry is not going to hope to get stabbed in the back by yet another mentor who turns out to be an evil speedster. Okay, this time it's the real deal. And it's definitely overdue. And if we don't get if we never get Max Mercury, then I guess this is a pretty nice second to settle for. But again, I'm exceptionally fond of Max Mercury, so let's just sort of leave it at that. That's sort of my interpretation because, oh no, Jay Garrick is having a proper Jay Garrick is absolutely positively nothing to sneeze at. It's great. Oh man, if only we could have gotten to see like Alan Scott on that Green Lantern show. They even the animated Green Lantern show from a couple of years back, and they even hinted at him. And then the show got canceled. That was such bull. Ah man, Alan Scott. Alan Scott's cool too. I like him. But anyway, let's see. What else do we have to talk about? Definitely like that they took some time to kind of acknowledge that Wally knows that Barry is the Flash. Again, important thing that they're setting up for the future. Um, and then there's of course the whole decision at the end with Barry saying, "Okay, I love you, Iris. Iris loves him back. They're going to try this relationship." And then he runs off and alters history, which of course is obviously meant to be a nod to the Flashpoint storyline from the comics from several years back that Jeff Johns wrote, and we've talked about this storyline before, where Barry goes back in time, saves his mom, but thanks to the butterfly effect, ends up completely screwing up the entire DC universe. And there's this great scene in the story where well, I guess I won't spoil it, but one of his main bad guys pops up and says, "Hey, you think I'm bad? You, Barry Allen, you caused all of this. You did all of this." Basically tells him like out of your own selfishness. And it's sad to say that yes, this is exactly what's going on. Barry is being selfish. Now, you might think, well, he's saving someone's life. How is that being selfish? Well, why is he saving his life? Why is he saving his mom's life? Why is he, doing all that? Because Barry wants something. He wants something. He wants to, have his mother. He wants to have his father. He wants to not have that pain. And while it is, of course, natural to want to avoid pain, he is still tampering with the universe for his own gain. Barry gets something out of this. And let me put it this way. There was another story written by Mark Waid, one of the seminal Flash writers, back in the 90s called Underworld Unleashed. And it's a really great story that I liked quite a bit. And basically, there's this demon named Neuron who kind of goes around causing all this magical, demonic chaos all over the world. And we ultimately find out that it's because he wants to claim the soul of the purest soul in the world. And Neuron's whole shtick is, he gets people to give them their souls, and he gives them power, or whatever it is they want in return for their souls. And we ultimately find out that the purest soul in the world belongs to Captain Marvel, Billy Batson. So Captain Marvel shows up to Neuron and says, like, "Okay, dude, you want my soul? Fine." And Neuron's like, "What do you want for your exchange for your soul? That's kind of what I do." And Captain Marvel says, exchange for my soul, you have to sort of knock all this nonsense off. You have to release Earth and leave it alone. And Euron goes, and? And Captain Marvel goes, and nothing. That's it. So Neuron's like, okay, deal. And he tries to suck out Captain Marvel's soul. But because Captain Marvel didn't want anything for himself, his offer to give up his own soul was purely altruistic. Neuron could not claim his soul and ended up hurting himself trying to do so. Again, that was done out of pure altruism. Here, Barry wants something for himself. Sure, it's noble to want to save his mom and all this, but again, he is tampering with the universe itself in order to get what he wants. And, well, you don't tamper with the fundamental nature of the universe to suit yourself. That's just not cool. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to remember that loss is a part of life. The people that we love, no matter what we do in our life, will someday be parted from, will someday part from us. Either will or they will. It's one or the other. And there's no getting around that. And while, of course, it's natural to mourn the loss, especially if they're taken from you by being murdered by crazy people, of course that's going to be hard. But it doesn't change the fact that you were going to lose them someday anyway. So the only thing that you can really do is accept it and try and move on with your life. Nobody says that this sort of thing is easy, but no one's ever said that anything in life is easy. It's a fundamental idea of life that as long as we live, bad things will happen to us. We'll suffer, we'll lose things, we'll be disappointed. But we have to accept these things and move on, because what other choice is there? To endlessly be hung up on what ifs and to have grief be a perpetual state? That's not how people are meant to live. And this all seems to really kind of come on such a strange turnaround. This is one of the things that I really didn't like about this episode. That literally, like 2 episodes before, it really felt like Barry had made peace with that. And then it just literally gets, boom, shot out of the water the next episode. So it kind of feels like that idea should have been given a little bit more time to breathe, but it wasn't. And okay, I understand there's only so many episodes in a season, but still, such an abrupt about phase before it's really that idea of Barry being at peace with his mother's death. I don't know. It just doesn't really work. Again, it's just such an abrupt about face. That's the one thing about this episode that I really didn't like. But in any case, we are set for what I'm sure is going to be a hell of a season 3 when this all comes around and bites Barry in the ass. And never mind the fact that we're also going to be dealing with that big crossover, I believe, in December between Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow. And as the show that kind of specializes in travel between alternate Earths, I'm sure that Flash is going to be a big part of that. And I'll be very curious to see exactly how they pull that off. I don't think they're going to try integrating Supergirl into the CW universe in some sort of cosmic way, because if you do that, you have to bring along Martian Manhunter and, this dude called Superman, which is established as part of Supergirl's world. So I don't think that's going to happen, but in any case, it's going to be really cool. Supergirl was a very, very fun show, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. And with that said, guys, I'm going to call it here. Flash Season 2 has had its ups and downs, just like Season 1, but for the most part, it has been another season of probably the best live-action interpretation of comic book stuff, probably outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Definitely the best live-action superhero show to ever hit TV. And there's just so much to love about this show that it's pretty easy to forgive whatever flaws it might have had. And I have nothing but optimism going forward into the next season. I'm sure we're going to see some really cool stuff. We're probably going to get to see some great new heroes and villains come on the show, more ideas from the comics. I am so hoping that we get some more nods to stuff like the Legion of Superheroes and all of that. Whatever they do, and it's going to be great. I'm sure of it. So, with that said, guys, thanks for joining me this season. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi, and please join me on Tumblr at Jedi Reviewer. Until next time, take care and have a good one.